All right, you guys, so this second part to the video, I ended up changing this second problem. I recorded this the first time. It didn't quite work out because you have to factor out a GCF and then it turns into a basic factoring problem, so it's not going to be very helpful. But in this case, this one will work out without having to factor out a GCF because we can't. So we're going to get started. I'm going to show you this really weird method. If you haven't seen me before, you're going to think that this is strange, but I promise there's a reason why I like to use this method. It's very straightforward. If you've ever done, which all of you guys have, factoring where you have a number out front of your x squared, it can get really messy really fast because really typically all you can do is guess and check, and it gets really, really nasty and it can take a really long time. So here's my foolproof way that you can do every single one of these problems every single time and get your answer right away without having to do any kind of guessing and checking and just go straight to the answer, which is very helpful and it's very, it can save you a lot of time. Okay, it's going to be much faster. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to write down what A, B, and C are. So A is 6, B is 13, and C is 5. Now, in our case, all of these numbers are positive, but we're going to find this or follow the same rules that we followed for the basic factoring as well. So if you're working on one of these that has negative numbers in it, you're just going to follow the same rules for our signs as before. Okay, those apply to both. All right, so I have my basic ABC written down. Now I'm going to draw an X, which is why we call it the X method. Who would have guessed? And in the top, we're going to do A times C. In the bottom, we're going to write B. So A times C, so 6 times 5 is 30. B is 13. So I'm looking for numbers that multiply to 30, but subtract, or sorry, not subtract, I was doing the last one, but add to give me 13. Since this is a plus, we're going to add them. If this were a minus, we would subtract them. Okay, so multiply to 30, add to 13. Well, right off the top of my head, I know that 10 times 3 multiplies to 30, but 10 plus 3 adds up to 13. So I'm going to put one of my factors on one side and the other one on the other side. It doesn't matter which way you do it. Then from here, what we're going to do is we are going to divide each one of these two numbers by whatever A is. So in this case, A is 6, so I'm going to divide 10 by 6 and 10 by 3. Now, when I say that, we're just going to reduce it. We really want to leave them as a fraction because that helps us figure out what our numbers are going to be in our parentheses. So if I reduce top and bottom by 2 in this case on the left, I'm going to get 5 over 3, and then I'm going to leave it. Over on the right, 3 divided by 6, I could divide them both by 3, or you just know right off the top of your head, this can also reduce to 1/2. Okay, so these are my actual numbers that I care about. So what I'm going to do with them is I'm going to take them, I'm going to make my parentheses. I'm dealing with x squared, so I need an x and an x. Both my signs were positive, so since this is positive, I know they're going to be the same. They're going to be whatever is in front of b, so they're both going to be pluses. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in my numbers. So the way that this works is the number that's on bottom will go first, and the number that's on top actually goes last in your parentheses. So for example, for this one, 3 is going to go in front of the x, 5 is going to go last. With this one, 2 goes in front of the x, and the 1 goes last. So just to prove to you guys that this works, I'm going to go ahead and FOIL it back out. So I'm going to get 6x squared plus 3x plus 10x plus 5. And whenever I simplify that, I get 6x squared plus 13x plus 5. So you can see I ended up where I started, which is a good sign. That's what should happen. So these are my factors. So I did not have to guess and check. Yes, this will work for any type of factoring problem. You can even use this on the basic factoring if you like it. You don't have to do product and sum because basically you are doing the same thing. So yeah, you can use this to your advantage. It's a lot faster, a lot easier, I think, once you get used to it. Of course, you're going to have to practice with it a little bit. But just so that you guys know, I told you that your signs will follow the same rules. as the rules that we talked about before. So let's say that this were a negative and we left the 13 positive. Then once you get to this step, you're going to look at whatever your numbers were originally. So I had a 10 and a 3. Whichever one is bigger will tell you that that's the one that goes behind the plus. So in this case, the 10 was bigger, which means that I'm going to put the 5 behind the plus, and that would have to be a minus if this were negative. Maybe that's not making any sense. So I'll try to put an extra example on here so you see what would happen if there were a negative last term. But other than that, I'm all done. So hopefully this will help you guys out. If you have any questions, let me know. Do those. I think there's 5 practice problems that I'm giving you. I really want you to try this X method. So give those a shot. If you have any questions, let me know. And I hope you guys are staying warm and you have a great e-learning day. I will hopefully see you maybe tomorrow, but if not, then I'll see you Friday.